Okay, welcome everybody. This is the May 11th meeting of the Grosse Ile Township Public Service Commission. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and we will go through a Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic to the nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Call the roll. Costick is here. Kennedy?
Here.
Schmidtke?
Present, sir.
Reilly?
Yes.
Pusdesris?
Present.
Saraki?
Present.
And Nadeau?
Present.
We have a quorum. All members are present. We also have John Keim of staff and our Director Director Thiel here. We also have an honored guest. Our Township Supervisor, Jim Budney, is joining our meeting, at least for the first portion of it. Welcome, Jim. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Phil. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Jim is...
Welcome back.
Yeah.
Jim is
I couldn't get enough meetings, so I was looking for one tonight.
well, Jim has a title of DPS Commissioner Emeritus. Anyway.
Yeah.
Can I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda? I'll make the motion to approve the agenda.
Support. I will second.
Phil Kennedy supported. Any discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Any additions? The meeting agenda is approved. We also have the minutes of our April 20th, 21st meeting, and I thought, incidentally, Derek did a good job recording most of the important points of discussion. I'll make a motion to approve those minutes of our April 21st, of our April 20th, 21st meeting. And are there any comments? If not, I'll accept the motion for second.
I'll support.
And who is that?
Dave.
Dave? Okay, Dave, thank you. Any discussion, questions? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. We have vouchers 4/1/2021 to 5/1/2021. I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers. Is there support?
I'll support.
Lenny.
Lenny supported. Any questions on the vouchers?
One quick question, Bill or Derek. I'm just curious, is that a normal amount of overtime?
Where are you looking at?
I'm looking on the page 11. We've got $27,000 in overtime.
Yeah, so that's total payroll. That's not indicative of the overtime. Okay. So that's total.
Okay. That doesn't break down overtime hours there.
Right, correct.
Got it. Okay, no question then.
Hearing no questions besides that comment, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The vouchers are approved. We also have a statement of revenues and expenditures, and they are just to be filed. We're early on in our fiscal year. I didn't notice anything. Anybody have a comment?
I think one of our accounts was high, but that's because retiree healthcare was taken out in a lump sum. I think we're supposed to be at about 8.3%, and I think on 159.90 we're at like 13.5, but the vast majority of that's because of that retiree healthcare lump sum.
Right.
Are there any other questions? If not, we'll just receive and file the statements. Finally, item number 8 in our agenda is approval of the treasurer's report for DPS funds. You have a copy of the report. Any questions? I'll make a motion to accept the treasurer's report for.
I will.
Les?
Schmidtke seconded.
Okay, Schmidtke seconded. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor of receiving the treasurer's report indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposition? Hearing none, the treasurer's report is accepted. Next, I've been alerted by Derek that our supervisor, and I don't know if there's any other public maybe we should just ask the question, is there any public who has zoomed on to this meeting that would like to address the DPS Commission? I don't hear any comments, so we'll move. We'll invite Jim Budney, our supervisor. Jim, it's good to see you.
Bill, always good to see you and all the telephones on the screen, and Sohail. I get to see him every now and then. Phil, I haven't seen you for a while, or Laura, I haven't seen you. I actually thought that I would be attending your meetings, fairly regularly, and I found out with this this new job that Nadeau got me into, and Thiel, that I have enough meetings to go to. But I've been wanting to come the last couple of months, actually, to ask something that you have on your agenda this month, and that's to put together a road millage and a road plan. I'd like to, since we're not going to have any any elections this year, 2021, if we can get a good plan together, we can start selling it, to the public and educating them on why we need it. So I'd like to charge the DPS commission with putting something together. My thoughts are something that would a millage from somewhere between 10 and 15 years. I'm thinking of a minimum millage of 1.5 to whatever you think. I want us to have enough money every year to actually get something done. I mean, if we do a mill or something, we're not going to have a lot of money to get a lot done, or it's going to take us a lot longer. And I'd rather see it quicker and see some results. I think the people would too. I would also like to see incorporated in that plan something where we could cover all types of roads, do a lot of work, not only with the main roads, but with residential roads. And if any of that sounds familiar, it's a lot like our last millage. I thought that was a very good plan, forgetting about what roads we had in that, just the overall plan was good. I believe we had our primary roads done in 3 years, and the balance of the millage, which was for 12 years, we had money to make a payment on the bonds as well as money to work on the residential roads. And that's pretty much what I would like to see. But I'm going to leave it up to you guys, because I trust you will come up with a good plan. One thing to keep in mind, it's very possible by 2022, the only time you'll be able to vote on a millage will be in November. There's bills going through the House right now to take away the August and May elections, replace it with a June election, but have millages only on the November election. That looks like it's probably going to go through and pass. So you can keep that in mind, that it wouldn't be probably until November of 2022 that this millage would come up for a vote. So we'd have a good amount of time to educate the people on it and go forward with it. We'd also be close to having some other millages drop off. With it wouldn't be there. The first big break we're going to see in millages dropping off will be in 2024. But when that happens, I'm trying to sell the board not to go out and use all that up, but give the people a little bit of a break The first millage I want out there to replace part of that would be this. And if we can get it going a couple of years early, that's fine. I think we all agree that something has to be done with the roads. I talk to Wayne County every week, as does Derek. And in our side talk, there certainly isn't anything that indicates there's going to be a ton of money coming for roads. Now, we also know that with the CARES Act and the ARA and all the other COVID type money that's coming down, infrastructure money, we may get some of that. In fact, Groseal should be getting a nice chunk of money. We just don't know right now what we can do with it exactly. And I want to know all the things that we can use it for before we make any decision on how we're going to use it. But roads has always been, my number one project. And I think Phil would agree with me. And I would like to see us do something with the roads sooner rather than later. So I see that, as I say on your agenda, you have road discussion, millage. I would very much want you to put something together and something that we can you can actually roll out this year and start educating the people on it. I will certainly be there to help you on that. I'd be more than happy to go to groups, talk to anybody I can, because I think this is very important for the community, that we do something, and we are going to have to do it. It's going to have to be Groseal that is the leader in this. We can't wait for Wayne County or the state or anybody else. So that's what I'd like you to do. I'm happy to see that it's on your agenda, and I'll leave it to you guys to put together.
Thank you, Jim. Thanks for the challenge and the comments. I'd like to ask the commissioners, if anybody has a question of Jim as a follow-up, would you just take the floor right now? Anybody on the commission have a comment? Phil?
Well, I'm glad to see that it's being brought up again. And I'm also pleased to see that we're not talking about just a minimal millage, but something that would be significant. And I'm all in favor of it again. I just don't know what different approach we might be able to use. I think we're going to have to pull a couple rabbits out of the hat here to get the community involved and behind this, because the one thing I see immediately as an obstacle is going to be that the focus is going to be, again, on that this is Wayne County's problem. It's not our problem. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to focus on the fact that there's money coming to us. There should be money coming to us in these federal programs. So I think we're going to have a rough sell in some regards, but I'm all in favor of it. The roads have not yet decided to fix themselves. So there's no other way that it's going to happen.
Phil, you're right about that. There is, people are going to see, well, there's infrastructure money. So why are we doing it? Why are we doing it? And we're just going to have to, do a good job, which will probably be, will be on me and Dave to educate them on, well, what they're talking about isn't just a blank page to do whatever you want. We're sitting here right now. I just had a meeting this morning, and they still don't know what infrastructure means exactly. Right. Even in water and sewage, yes, you can spend it on that, but they don't know exactly what you can spend it on. So we're going to have to do that. It's going to be an education job, and we're going to have, we can't just put a program out and say, here it is, you have to accept it. We're going to have to tell them why, and I got no problem doing that. So yeah, it's going to be a challenge, but I think we have to do it because I really would like to see our roads get fixed. And as I said, sooner rather than later and meaningful.
All right, John Reilly, you have any comment on this?
Yes, I do. And it's a negative feeling that the township electorate and taxpayers probably have that is difficult to measure at this point. But when the county closed the bridge down roughly Cinco de Mayo 2020 and nothing was done on the bridge, the county portion of it, the gentleman and the company that did West River Road did an excellent, timely construction with good, new, better design. That certainly is appreciated. But if there's a negative feeling, for instance, some families are spending $1,000 a month on bridge tolls, and I believe that to be correct. Because of that, that family probably isn't crazy about helping Wayne County out at all. So I think that the job or the effort has to be very significant because you've got an underlying difficult connection with the taxpayers out here because of the county bridge, because of the county's actions. That's something that's obvious or should be.
John, certainly I do believe you're correct that there's those perceptions out there, and you're right. We're going to have to get out there and really face those questions and perceptions and talk about them. We can't hide from them. We need to talk about them, and they have to understand. One of the things that I'm finding out more in this position than I did as a trustee is how much the people don't want to understand what's going on, how they want to just take their perception and run with it and not want to hear the facts of things. And the other side of that is people willing to give them the facts of what's going on. And that's what we're going to have to do. Hopefully this administration, this board, you will see doing that much more than past boards as far as sharing any information that they can and taking those things on rather than just saying they're out there. But it's going to be one of the things that we're going to have to do. I'm hopeful that in the next couple of months, we'll actually be able to gather again and be in one room talking rather than on a screen. But I plan on having my Q&As as soon as we can get back together. I certainly would be more than willing to have road millage discussions with the public and talk about those nitty-gritty things.
Okay,
The fact is we live on an island and we're faced with what we have.
Give everybody a chance. Lenny, you have anything you want to comment on this?
No,
Lenny?
I just agree with what's been, hello.
Yeah.
I agree with what's been said so far. It's going to be a tough sell, especially after we're one of those families that's been between $500 and $700 a month on tolls.
Yep.
And I'll be honest with you, part of me believes this is Wayne County's issue, and I want to take it and I want them to come fix it. But
at the end of the day, I don't believe they're going to do that at all. So we're going to have to take care of our own community, and we got to educate all the residents. The last time it was up, we didn't miss it by much. So if we can just sway that last couple of percent, we can probably pull it off. And hopefully that's through transparency and education.
All right, thank you. Laura, you have any comments on this?
I don't. I mean, I can see that there may be some resistance, but I think it's all about the messaging and how you package it and how you provide benefits. So I think if you communicate the benefits and it's always about the messaging, I guess. So that's kind of my experience with things like this.
All right. Les Schmidtke.
John Reilly said it pretty good, because we sat back and watched the county do absolutely nothing for almost a year. And they speak with forked tongue up there. So when you're going to go out to the public and say, hey, we need to have some money to fix these roads up, and they're saying they got money coming from here, money coming from there, you know, they're speaking with forked tongues. On the news this morning, I heard that the Jefferson Bridge that was screwed up in River Rouge is screwed up again.
That's true.
So, you know, John said it pretty good. The people feel pretty negatively against the county, and I am also one of them, because I live close enough to that bridge to see and hear what's going on. That's all I got to say.
Okay, last, David.
Yeah, I've got a couple of things, Bill. One is we've got to change the perception that people have on how roads are funded. Yeah, the roads are Wayne County roads. People don't, a number of people don't understand that Wayne County property taxes do not and cannot be used to fund the roads and bridges. That all comes from your gas taxes, you know, the excise taxes, and it comes from the state, and it's doled out down to the county level. So property taxes have no bearing on the monies that the county has available. And I think that message needs to get out. People won't like it. A lot of people won't believe it, but that's the source of that funding. And I think we have to try to switch it around. I don't view it as we're helping, doing Wayne County's job. I think we're doing what we have to do for our own community. And that's the message. You know, we're not helping Wayne County. We're helping our neighbors and the business people and, you know, the users of the roads that we have. That's my thoughts.
Thank you for that. I don't know if I'm going to comment last. Do you have anything to say, Derek, or do you want to add at this point?
No, maybe I can mention something down towards the roads millage discussion at the end of the agenda. I guess I would just like to talk about the strategy moving forward. Did you guys formulate this proposal by way of subcommittee when you move forward with millage proposals in the past? You know, do we want to get a subcommittee together to put this information together? You know, just we've been given the directive to put something together. What's the best way to go about fulfilling that directive? So that's the only thing I'd like to talk about maybe later.
Okay, that'll be a strategy. Well, my comment then, Jim, is number one, I appreciate you coming here. Appreciate your prior service to the DPS Commission. It's been invaluable. And my comment is similar to what I've always said. We can put something together for you, Jim. And I guess the comment is that in 2015, we went to the voters. 2018, we went to the voters. And our message was, the county doesn't have the resources to address the traffic volumes, accident ratio on our island compared to some of the worst parts of Wayne County, where it's much more severe, much more traffic, many more accidents. Anyway, they haven't done anything on resurfacing our roads. Now they're spending millions of dollars, far beyond what they ever hoped to, on our bridges. My comment is, in my opinion, if you think they're going to invest money on our roads in the next few years, I would be surprised. That's my comment. And it's similar to what Derek just said. We will proceed and develop a strategy to work on this. Question is, if we have a plan back to you by the end of this year, is that what your goal is?
I would hope, yeah, near the end of the year, the sooner you get it back, the sooner we can start getting it out and talking to people. But the end of the year, you guys take whatever time you need to get a good plan together, and then we'll go out and educate and sell the people on the idea. And that's all we can do. If we put it out and if the people vote it down, we've done our job. I think it'd be sad because the next day everybody'd be saying, when are they going to fix the roads? But that is the way it works, and that's all we can do. So I'll be more than happy that we have a plan and that we offered it to the people, and then we let the voters speak.
Okay.
That's all.
One quick comment.
Yes.
Jim, were we talking? I thought we were talking about a vote in 2021. We're talking about a vote in 2022.
Yes, there's no vote. No, we're not. There's no election in 2021.
No election. We can't put anything out in 2021.
We're not going to. No, we can't put anything out for a vote in 2021. So
Okay.
we have. That's why I'm bringing it to you now. We have the time to put it together and to go out and start selling it.
Okay.
All right. And I just want to say that I hope our next meeting in June, we can begin to meet in person. And my thought on this is we should have every one of our meetings devote a large segment to it, discussing this road issue rather than a separate committee. I think we ought to talk about it at every one of our meetings and invite the public to participate after we get going. So that's kind of my thinking at this point. But we'll discuss, we'll outline a plan to start to address this. Okay?
Thank you.
Bill, this is John again. And I was thinking about one other factor, that there's a double example here. One is probably positive, and the other one's, once again, a negative factor. So on the north end of the island, bridges have been closed there, and that's in addition to the lack of a county bridge right now. So those taxpayers up on Voight and those streets up there might also have a double negative because of the county bridge and because of the bridges that are now closed. By the same token, but in reverse, if you look at Airport Bay and the job that Cornapple did down there, now that bridge is resurrected and much improved, the people there at the south end of the island and the people that belong to the club down there and Hickory Island and all those people along there, they might have a more favorable disposition to additional repairs because they're now enjoying what was in effect a safety factor and a health and safety issue for the time that the bridge was limited in usage. So it kind of works both ways on the island, but you've got a secondary scenario, one good, one bad, with respect to the on-island smaller bridges or causeways or whatever you would call it.
Well, thank you, John. Good point. All right, we'll end this. Anybody else had a comment? We'll end this discussion. Jim, thanks for being here.
Thank you for letting me speak, and I look forward to your proposal.
All right. Well, you're welcome to stay for the rest of our meeting.
You would always say that to the public, and I sit there and they'd get up and walk out, and unfortunately, that's what I'm going to do.
All right.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks for being
here. And ladies.
See you, Jim.
Okay, with that, we're going to move on. We have several items here, action items. And the first one is a water rate adjustment. Now, all the water rate adjustment, item B, sewer rate adjustment, and item C, refuse. We discussed all these in February at our budget meeting. And this was recommended, the budgets were recommended to the Township Board, and at the end of March, they approved a budget for the Township with certain thresholds for revenue production to meet the needs that we have. And we'll one by one go through these, but these are all consistent with that. One good bit of news is the water rate adjustment's actually less than what we spoke about in February. And I'll turn the water rate adjustment over to Derek to summarize. Derek?
Yeah, the adjustment that's listed in the action item for this evening is an adjustment of 11 cents per unit. And just restate, a unit is 1,000 gallons of water. The adjustment number was backed into based upon the needs to cover the increase for the GLWA rate adjustment for the upcoming year. Other than that, the budget is balanced, and we haven't adjusted rates for anything other than that GLWA rate adjustment. So at 11 cents per unit, we sell about 255,000 units on a given year. It generates right about $28,000. The rate adjustment from GLWA was $27,218. So I think it was like $800 more than what GLWA had levied against us. And that's just a matter of, if I go down to 10 cents, it's going to be too little. 11 cents was just a little bit over. So that's where we're at for our recommendation. As Bill had mentioned, this was the rate that was incorporated into the budget, and the budget was approved by the Township Board. If you do vote in the affirmative tonight, this will then go to the Township Board for the adjustment, which will occur in July.
And I look back on our records when we had our February meeting, we were then speaking about a 29-cent increase. So it's almost, it's a drastic reduction from what we talked about, and I thank staff for working on this. So I'll make the motion that the commission recommends to the Township Board the modification of the commodity rates on water for the current fiscal year from $11.57 per 1,000 gallons to $11.68, an 11-cent increase. That's the motion. Can I have support?
Support.
Is there any discussion or questions?
I have one question. It's not, it's just relative to the topic. Derek, we're using 25,000 gallons per quarter. Was that just the number of units divided by the total number of gallons, and you came up with that number, or what does that number really represent, the 25,000 gallons?
That's the average consumption per household.
Average per household, okay.
And that's, I don't believe it's a division between gallons sold and quantity of households. It's actual average, where you see the majority of your consumption is in that 25 unit per quarter range.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 One opposed? Motion carried, and it was unanimous. Thank you. Next item is similar. It's the sewer rate adjustment that we put in place. With the water rate adjustment that we just approved was to just pass on what the Great Lakes Water Authority was passing on to us as a cost increase for our wholesale water supply. In this case, the sewer rate adjustment was to balance the budget with all that's going on at the wastewater plant this year, especially the capital improvements that are necessary there. And this gave us a little extra money to, when we talked about this, if you recall, to be able to carry on those needed improvements, replacing motors and engines and pumps at the wastewater plant. So I'll again make the motion that the Public Service Commission recommends to the Township Board the modification of commodity rates on sewer for the current, for upcoming fiscal year from $4.16 per 1,000 gallons to $4.24 per 1,000 gallons, which is an 8-cent increase. It turns out to be $2 per quarter and $8 per year, based on the average household consumption. That's the motion. Can I have support?
Support.
Who supported that? Dave?
Nadeau.
Thank you. Let's open that up for Derek, do you have anything? to add?
No, part of the reason that we've adjusted the rate too, in addition to the capital improvements that are going on, but we are forecasting a reduced commodity sale amount down from, I think, 258 million gallons down to 255 million gallons. So part of this is to keep the revenue line level, whereas if we kept the rates where they were last year, with the reduction in the sales, we would end up being in a negative position as far as the budget is concerned. So an adjustment of the rate helps to accommodate the reduction in the commodity sales.
Are there further questions? If not, all in favor of approving the resolution as read, indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
The opposition? Hearing none, the motion's approved. The next item is our refuse. I'm sure Derek's going to want to jump in on this, but I'll make the motion before we start that the DPS Commission recommends to the Grosse Ile Township Board the modification of refuse rates for the current fiscal year from $45 a quarter to $55.08 a quarter. Now this is a $10 increase per quarter, $40 per year. And the commission is well aware, and I hope that if anybody's listening in for the public, that what we've experienced over the last 4 or 5 years, we had a fund balance in our refuse fund, and that's been totally consumed with the increased cost when Waste Management backed out, which is now over 2 years ago. We rebid, we had 4 bids. We awarded the contract to the low bidder, who was Priority Waste. Frankly, I think they're doing a pretty good job, but our costs have gone up. Back then, Waste Management increased its costs from around $650,000 a year to well over $1 million on their bid. And Priority Waste was, again, closer to the 650, and we're now going to be venturing in with their cost increases, which were part of their bid, to the 700,000 plus level. So I think as a commission, we've been very concerned about making sure that we have a tight budget for refuse. One other thing I did, just interesting, if you look at what we're paying per quarter per household, I'm aware that over the last 10 years or so, most communities in Southeast Michigan were paying well over $210 a household for collection of refuse, residential collection. And I think those costs now are in the vicinity of $230 to $250 per household. And we haven't done a recent survey, but costs have gone up. And we're at about 220. So I think we're right in the ballpark for what it's costing us. That's my own analysis, of course, unscientific. So I made the motion. Did we get a support? I'm talking too much here. Did anybody support it?
I will.
Nadeau supported it. Now we'll open it up for, Derek, you have comments.
Bill explained it very well. If you recall, the past 2 budget cycles, and when we had awarded the contract to priority, we had conversations with the Township Board and also the DPS Commission about the fact that we had this pretty significant fund balance that was sitting in refuse. Obviously, refuse not being a capital intensive account because we don't own any equipment. We contract out all the services. That fund balance should be rolled into operational expenditures. So the decisions were made in the past 2 budget cycles to rely on some of that fund balance, or all of it for that matter, to subsidize the rates for solid waste. The understanding all along, if you recall, was that once that fund balance was exhausted, then we would have to have a rate adjustment. This fiscal year is when that fund balance was exhausted. So the adjustment is necessary in order to bring revenue in line with expenditures. Bill did mention that this rate increase is not the result of necessarily a increase in our expense with our current vendor. If anything, our expense stayed very close to what it was with Waste Management. A far more substantial increase would be necessary had we not gone with a low bidder. I think our costs, like Bill had mentioned, with the supplier or with our vendor is close to $650,000. You can imagine what that rate increase might need to be if we were up in the $1 million range, which was where we would have been if we wouldn't have competitively bid this service. So I think that through the fiscal responsibility that the DPS Commission and the Township Board performed, this increase is far less than what it would have been. So you should be commended for that. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Hearing none.
Well, I had one that pertains to priorities situation with the toll bridge. So one truck comes over to Groseal to pick up collection and eventually turns around and goes back over again. So I'll just call that a round trip, defining it that way. What does priority have to pay for a round trip for one of their trucks that picks up our refuse?
Priority doesn't pay anything for our toll, for the tolls. The Township of Groseal pays for the tolls. The way we schedule the contract, we pay directly to the bridge for those toll fees so that we weren't paying in excess of what the actual cost was. Our concern, I think, when we bid out the services was that vendors would potentially substantially increase their bid cost if they had to account for tolls with the uncertainty of how long that would be assessed for. So we made the decision within the contract to pay directly. I think we have budgeted within this fiscal year right around $30,000 for bridge tolls, but I can tell you.
No, that's it.
I think it was 27, Derek.
What I'm wondering about is, what is a round trip for that truck from priority costing us? What is it? Does anybody know? Is it $100 a trip? I don't know what it is.
I don't want to misquote. They do, when they do invoice for the bridge tolls, they do have a unit price on it. I'd have to go back and look. Yep.
Yeah, we don't need it tonight, but that is a material fact with the bridge being out since Cinco de Mayo 2020. That's a material fact of increased cost to the taxpayers on Groseal, which obviously is the ratepayers also. That's the same people.
Absolutely.
So that's one more additional cost that the taxpayers are shouldered with.
John just texted me $72. $72
Okay.
per trip.
Okay. That's very good. That's very good from the standpoint you gave an exact answer, and I think it's good for everybody to recognize every time a truck goes back and forth, it's $72 that they can't use the county bridge. I think that's important to know.
Well, John, that's a good point, and I would add to that our sledge hauling from our wastewater plant, we're spending $60,000. It doubled from $60,000 a year to almost $120,000. In fact, before we got with the current company, we were paying $200,000 because they couldn't haul the sludge over. So our costs have really increased for sledge hauling. They've doubled at the wastewater plant.
Sure.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention bringing materials over for construction, whatever we're doing, whether it's roads or water main or whatever, we're paying a premium for all that too. So there's no question about it, John. Okay. With that, I guess we haven't voted on this yet, or have we?
I don't have a motion. I don't have a second.
I made the motion,
Okay.
and I think Dave Nadeau
He
supported it.
did. They now supported it. Yep.
So, if there are no further questions, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? It's unanimous. Thank you. All right. Now we'll go into DPS Director's report. Water loss.
Through the month of March of 2021, water loss is at 9.915%, and that's an aggregate between February of 18 all the way through March of 21. And actually, March we're doing pretty well with for that specific month. Inflow I&I over the plant 62% for the month, so you can see that's going up a little bit with the rain that we've had. So, any questions about the lost water report?
I think it's very good, Derek.
Thank you, Les, and that's credit to the guys and making sure that we tighten things up consistently and constantly. So underneath the DPS project update, I'm going to pass it off to Sohayo here in a second, but I do want to go over The first item on the agenda, the water main construction schedule update. We had talked last meeting about the fact that there was a potential problem with the pipe supply. Once we had that meeting that I had referenced on that Thursday after our DPS meeting, we were able to get some additional information, and I believe I sent an email out to everybody just indicating kind of what that resolution was. Essentially, the pipe manufacturer and the vendor, the supplier, were able to give us some assurances that the pipe that was necessary to complete the remainder of Meridian was going to be available without too much of an inconvenience to us. We actually pushed the project back about 2 weeks just to give us a little bit of a cushion to make sure that if there were any potential additional delays, that there wasn't going to be remobilization expense or idle equipment. With that, we are scheduled to start the 24th of May, and the surveyors will be out on Church tomorrow, marking Church Road and all the leads, utilities, and survey staking the construction area. Notices will go out to those residents starting this week as well to let them know about the construction scope, the schedule of work, any kind of inconvenience they might be faced with, the purpose of the project, things of that sort. So that'll go door to door. Everybody will receive notices in that stretch of road. Church Road will be the first section starting on the 24th. That should take about 30 days from my understanding. And at that point, they will then move over to Meridian Road. We have enough pipe in stock currently for Church. We have enough pipe in stock for about half of Meridian. So as they finish up the first half of Meridian, that's when that second load of pipe will end up coming in. So you guys should start seeing activity here within the next, 14 days. And we'll be well on our way to getting that project complete. So Hyle, do you have anything to add regarding that construction schedule? You're on mute. You're on mute, so Hyle. Sorry. So Hyle, you're on mute.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
Good evening, everyone. Derek, you explained it very well as far as the water main project. Starting with the Park Lane drainage, there's no change on that project, still on hold. On the Swan Island drainage project, the minor punch list items that are restoration work will be starting tomorrow. The contractor is coming in to have a pre-construction meeting on the Elba Island, so he'll be starting restoration again tomorrow. And hopefully that will not take too long. The sanitary sewer system township-wide, we completed all of the report as far as the inspection of the manholes. We reviewed the sewer videos for last year, the one that were televised last year. And the phase 4 that started this year is almost 40% completed. Say if we are doing a good job televising and cleaning the sewers. No major defects were found so far. So the Alba Island pump station repairs, we have a pre-construction meeting tomorrow on the 12th, and the project is scheduled to start on the 13th, the day after. The West River drainage improvement, north of Island Estate Drive. Derek, do you want to discuss this now, or do you want to go over that later?
Yeah, we can go over it right now. In your packet, you should have received a copy of an engineer's estimate, and then also just a real rough layout of the improvements that'll take place over there, basically the scope of work as far as the limits are concerned. At our last DPS meeting, that was the direction we had received, was to have Ohio put together an engineer's estimate. Obviously want to make sure that you're comfortable with the scope of work and also comfortable with the estimate before we proceed with engineering to hopefully get started on that project we want to do it this construction season. So in saying that, are there any questions regarding the information that was included in the packet regarding that project?
I guess the question I have to begin with, this is on the very north section of West River Road near Horse Mill. It's the last drain crossing. It's a big dip in the pavement. The heavily wooded area. The road narrows at that point. The guardrail are very narrow at that point. And anytime it rains or in winter conditions, it retains water right at the north side, both sides of the road on the north end there. It's a lousy looking drain crossing. I think we've talked about this over the years, just never got to it. So it is a viable project that will make a big improvement in that area. So my question to the commissioners, are all of you is anybody not familiar with this area? Let's put it that way. West River Road, the north end of West River Road. So I assume everybody is a little bit familiar with it. So we know what we're talking about. So the idea tonight would be is we would adopt a resolution to authorize taking the bids for the improvement. And I know we would also have to get permits from Wayne County. We did a similar improvement near the gardens shop.
Westcroft Gardens.
Westcroft, I was going to say West Shore. Westcroft Gardens. And our permit process, dear Wayne County, and all the staff has changed now, but I recall it took over a year to get a permit from them, if you recall, Sahil.
That's correct.
And they actually, in their process of review, increased the cost by $150,000. And thanks to Sahil's efforts, we got them to back off. But at any rate, and that was even worse than this location. So I'll offer a resolution that we authorize the engineers to proceed with taking bids for this improvement project. If Sahil, you want to explain anything more? I mean, we're going to raise the road where the crossing is about a foot.
That is correct. We're changing the size of the culvert from 12-inch metal culvert to a concrete pipe, 24-inch in diameter, 2 end sections. We intend to widen the road a little bit, raise the grade, take the dip out of it, pretty much, not completely, but again, go up about a foot or so. And hopefully by doing so, we can save the base from getting compromised by the flooding that's taking place on both sides. There may be some wood clearing and some guardrail relocation. Very simple project compared to the Westcroft Garden Bridge.
Okay, so I think I offered a motion to authorize the engineer to proceed with the taking of bids. Is there a second?
I second that, Bill. This is Lenny.
Yeah, Lenny. Oh, you seconded that. Okay.
Yeah, I second that. That part of the road is absolutely horrible, especially when compared to the rest of West Road that's been touched. And you get up in the north end, and you can see night and day difference. And if we don't do it now, it's going to continue to erode, and we're going to lose the substrate.
Yep. Thank you, Lenny, for that. I'm sure you as a fireman know you must drive that frequently. So
Yes.
It's moved and supported. Is there any further discussion or comments?
I have a comment. Bill, we talked earlier about possibly being able to extend the pavement some in each direction if we did this. Is that included in this?
I understand it's from the center line of that drain crossing. It's 150 feet north and south.
North and south, okay. And just one other question for somebody uninformed of this process as I am. What is mobilization?
It's a contractor moving in on the site with all of his equipment and materials and getting ready to do the work, setting up a staging area right adjacent to the construction.
So it's just part of the bid?
Yeah, it's included in every.
Just to set up.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? If not,
I have one comment.
yes, sir.
When you go to get the permit for this, you should tell them that we need this permit, but this is a project that you people should be doing, not us.
You're exactly right. Although, unless that's a very good point. When we've taken on drain projects, in case anybody's listening, we have a drain millage that we levy every year. And we have a drain fund. So we do take on projects because we've asked the county to do drain improvements. in my tenure here, I know we've asked every year for the county to do things such as ditching and other things, and they never do it. Say they don't have
Well, they've done a few, Bill. They've done a few of them. They did something up on Loma Circle, and I think they did something up on Park Lane at Horse Mill.
Okay, let me
As
ask
far
you,
as
Les, when did they
it's far and few between what they're supposed to be doing.
do Loma Circle, Les?
Ask John Keim. They did something in there, and then we did something on that to alleviate a problem with the water going, draining through people's homes.
We did it. Bro, we did it with our drain money. Wayne County,
Yeah, I know. We did it, and they did something too. I don't know what they did, but I remember they did something, ditching or something.
John, what did they do up there?
Bill, at the same time, they did the ditches on what would be the east side of Loma Circle as well.
All right, we spent the
It
majority.
wasn't, like Les said, it was not much work at all.
All right, they did something, Les. I guess you're right. But they.
I'm not always right, but I'm very seldom wrong.
All right.
We did Stout a couple of years ago. Stout, there was about 10 houses in there, remember?
Yes. The county didn't do anything there.
No.
No, we did it. That was significant.
Absolutely.
That was significant money spent.
Absolutely. All right, with that, any other comments? If not, I don't hear any. All in favor of the motion to authorize the engineers to go out for bid?
Aye.
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 Any opposition? We have a motion to authorize the engineers to go out for bid. Thank you. All right.
Okay, continue on the wastewater treatment plant projects. We're gonna move on to raw sewage pump number 4. That's still the same status. It's getting bundled with the ACO improvements under the same permit. I will discuss the permitting process a bit later when I go over the new clarifier. On the HVAC lab units, we completed the asset management plan, and that covered the HVAC system. We are working on recommendations for improvements to propose to the DPS Commission so we can get them funded and considered. On the bar screens project, the project is almost completed. The contractor installed the covers on the screens. They also completed the installation of the sluice gate. The only pending item on the sluice gate is the control panel. That's on order. As soon as it arrives, they will install it, and that project will be completed. They finally were able to figure out the shoot issues as far as I know. I'll check with Ryan later. Maybe Ryan can give some feedback on that later on. On the basis of design plan improvements, again, we are going through Eagle with the permit application, and we are addressing review comments with them. We're going back and forth between the review engineer, our office, and OHM. And what's going to happen with that, the permit may be issued early as soon as he finishes his review. However, the construction is not going to take place till 2023-24 to finish in 2025, which means that we're going to sit on a permit for a while, and the only thing we have to do is reapply for renewal. We cannot bid that job now because, again, no contractor is going to hold his prices from now till the completion 2025. So we're going to wait till we're closer to the construction timeline and bid the project. But again, as long as you secure a permit, we're okay. So on the asset management plan, that was completed and was submitted to Eagle before May 1st deadline. On the primary and final clarifiers improvements, the project is proceeding. There was a change since this report was issued. The contractor will be mobilizing to work on the first primary tank on Friday. And as soon as that's done, he's going to move to the second primary tank. Then he's going to move back to the outside and finish a south secondary clarifier. This is a change from what you see on the report. We had some delays because of some issues with deteriorated conduits at the treatment plant that had to be addressed. and that caused some delays, but again, they're getting them taken care of. So the project is moving along, and hopefully it will be completed within the time frame that we're shooting for.
All right, thank you for that. Any questions of Sohail? All right, Sohail, thank you very much for your report.
Thank you.
I would offer to the commission, yesterday, David, Nadeau, and I and Derek went up to the plant and met with Ryan Welch. And one thing that's very interesting, and I would invite any member of the commission, if you want to go, I'll be glad to go up with you in the next week or two, whatever. But to see the primary tank in the lower level of the wastewater plant, tank number 3 is empty now. You get a real different perspective on seeing it empty, as well as the final clarifier unit that's totally empty where we're rebuilding it. It's just really interesting to see them empty without full of water, those tanks. So if you have an inclination, Phil or Lenny or John, Laura, I'll be glad to make arrangements to go up there with you. It's really interesting to see anyway.
Sludge hauling starts on Monday, so if you go next week, you'll get to see the primaries, the secondaries, and the sludge hauling operation. So it's like a 3-4, you know.
Trifecta.
Yeah.
We're going to hear from Ryan a little later, but he's got his hands full. There's a lot going on over there. So that takes care of, where are we?
Church Road.
Church Road. Derek?
So you should have all received a memo from me, I believe on the 10th, yesterday, regarding Church Road. It was not included in your packet because it wasn't quite ready when we put the packets out on Friday. If you recall, at our last DPS commission meeting, we had talked about road projects for the upcoming construction season. Myself and Sohail were directed to go back and take a look at the feasibility of roto-milling Church Road, talk about various concerns and how they would be addressed regarding road shoulders, if we were to do that type of work, longevity, so on and so forth. So the memo I put together addresses the vast majority of those points. I think what the chairman and myself had talked about during the week was continuing with the option of milling and capping Church Road, doing a little bit more than the 2 inches that was originally discussed, I think, at our last meeting, and maybe going to 2.5 to maybe 3 inches to increase the longevity of the repair. But what we wanted to do was make sure that the commission, and I address at the chairman's recommendation, the residents' expectation about what level of work or what level of longevity this work would provide. And I wanted to make sure, and the chairman wanted to make sure, that if we did decide to move forward with this project for this construction season, that everybody was comfortable with the type of life that we're going to get out of this money that we spend. So I addressed that in the memo, and then also potentially a public notice to those on Church so that their expectations are tempered a bit as far as what this is going to do for them in the long term. So in saying that, I'd like to kind of open things up to the commission to take your thoughts on Church Road with the information that was provided in that memo, if you're still in support of putting money onto that stretch of pavement, or if you want to look at other options like sectioning or crack or joint sealing, and the preference, if there's a preference, to go that direction. So Bill, I'll hand it back to you to talk about it.
All right, I'll just speak first because I have some concerns. Number one, I have experience in my early part of my career with 2-inch asphalt over existing asphalt that's deteriorated. And a 2-inch lift, let's call it, you're going to see the cracking, as the memo says, and as Sohail has said, it's going to reflect through in 2 to 3 years. Doesn't mean that you still don't have a better driving surface, but people will complain that, well, you just put it in and it's going to crack. This is a temporary fix. Proper way to, Church Road is in such bad shape, proper way to fix it, and I know Laura, being an engineer, would know this too, is to totally reconstruct. We've had problems trying to deal with Wayne County on the reconstruct issue. And one of them is they say we have to have shoulders. There are no shoulders there now. We want to widen it 2 feet. That's what the ultimate plan would be. Widen it 2 feet off one side or the other, or both sides. Maybe enclose, if you my idea was to widen it 2 feet off the north side and enclose the ditches on the north side. But a nice improvement, giving us a couple of extra feet. Would eliminate the edge problems John Reilly talked about at the last meeting. But here's the primary focus. If we spend $300,000, the money we have on deposit in our road fund to address Church Road, why would we do that? Why would we make a temporary fix? Well, it's really in bad shape. It's as bad a shape in sections worse than Meridian. But we can't do any improvements on Meridian because the bridge is closed. We can't be working on Meridian with all the traffic on Meridian. And the county has said they're going to do some improvements, we hope, if they keep their promise, in resurfacing some sections of Meridian next year. That's what we learned. Another bad section on the island that's really bad is sections of East River. There's a couple sections. One that is near between Ferry and Island. That's the worst section of East River. We hope that the county will do, they said they might do some resurfacing. When I talk about that, that's not contract resurfacing. That's with their own forces. That's Wayne County's maintenance forces, like they've done on other sections of East River. So that leaves Church. There's no plan to do anything with Church. It's not eligible from the county's perspective on federal funding assistance. Only East River, Meridian, and Parkway are eligible, so-called urban system for federal aid, where maybe 80% of a resurfacing would be paid for with the federal dollars that come into the state of Michigan to Wayne County. So there's no plan on the horizon, and it's just going to get worse. And Church is a driving difficulty. It's not really safe with the pavement the way it is. So if we were to put a permanent surface in, my thought is we have to, as Derek mentioned, the expectations of the public, go to the public and say, send a letter to everybody that fronts on it and say, this is not a permanent fix, but looking ahead to the next several years, there's no permanent fix in our plan that we see coming down the road. Number two, we want to do something to preserve what pavement is there and give you a better driving surface. So those are my thoughts. My concern is we have to make sure that people don't think we're wasting our money, that we're giving them something where there's no outlook for improving Church Road in the future. That being said, now Mr. Budney comes in tonight to us and asking us to put something forward. Maybe in our plan, we would prioritize Church Road. I think we're going to prioritize roads based on traffic volumes. Meridian has a lot more traffic volume, East River does, than Church Road. Church Road is also a place where we have an elementary school. So there are all these things to consider and shuffle around. I don't know how far the 300,000 will go either. So Hal and staff, Derek and John Keim, have identified that from Park Lane towards the canal, and not quite, maybe within 300 feet of the canal, is the worst section of it. And that's the area that we would strive for. I don't know how far 300,000 is going to go. It may not cover that whole area, and we may get something out of it for the 2 inches. So those are my comments, if you know what I'm trying to say. And I open it up for discussion. Laura, I know you're very familiar with Church. Do you have any comments?
No, but I agree that that area of Church Road is the worst one, especially when you get closer to the canal.
Are you in favor of moving forward with a temporary fix?
Yes.
Okay. You can jump in.
And Bill, there's one other thing too, that a lot of the neighborhoods on the north side of Church Road, say HCL Jackson, all those neighborhoods in there that are fed by Church Road, there's quite a few homes in there. That was a very large subdivision that was built in the late 50s, early 60s. On the south side of Church Road, you've got a very large subdivision that was built probably in the 60s. So that church road does feed a lot of neighborhoods right there, in addition to the schools, Sacred Heart Church, Little League Baseball, all that stuff. So it really is trafficked quite a bit.
You're right, John. And there's a little bit of information that John Keim and Derek have found out. One of you jump in, Derek or John, about the edge problem you mentioned, John?
So,
Yes.
to address some of those concerns, John did talk to the county, our contact over there, and the county was willing to come in as part of the construction project and regrade or add material to those shoulders and at least bring those shoulders up to elevation so you don't have so much of a significant drop off, or any drop off for that matter, between the road surface and then the shoulder, so you don't have this oversteer problem that you had referenced. We're not going to be increasing the size of the shoulder. We're not going to be expanding the shoulder, but at least is maintenance to the shoulder so you don't have this drop off. Not only is it a safety,
very, very important. Very important.
Not only is it a safety issue, but it's also a road maintenance issue. You know, if those road edges don't have any support from a properly graded shoulder, they end up having this fall off problem, which you see as you get past the bridge. So basically from the bridge to Meridian, there's really deep ruts along there, and you can see where the edges of the road are just crumbling apart and falling off into these divots on the side. So
That's right.
Part of that project would be to actually regrade those shoulders or bring those shoulders up to elevation between Meridian and East River Road.
So you won't see a plow in the ditch.
You might still see a plow in the ditch, but it won't be the result of the shoulder grabbing.
Yeah.
Be a driving thing.
So with that, then I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion that
Hang on. Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Lenny.
I have a couple of questions. This is Lenny. So yeah, I live on the south side of Church between Canterbury and Park Lane. And with the number of runs we get, I'm on that road 16 to 24 times a day. I have seen plenty of vehicles with damaged tires, rims, and suspension by trying to get out of the way of a truck and falling off of that ledge. I've seen many people pull over and they fall off and end up in a ditch. If we do a 2-inch cap, and I understand we'll see some possible cracking in a couple of years. In your educated opinion, I won't hold you to it. If we cap it, how many years, is it 5, 10, 30, before the cap looks the way the road does today?
Well, my opinion would be that I think that then Sohala can jump in, but I have had experience with this 2-inch. It's going to reflect through, but it's going to give you a driving surface at least last 5 or 6, 7 years, 8 years, better than what you got right now. So Hal?
That's correct. And it all depends on the loading and the sub-base condition. If the cracking starts to develop and the water starts working its way back down, or the freeze and thaw, they may come back within the first 5 years to the same condition. Again, with some luck, it may last 8 years, but the concern again is that once the road is cracked and the base is compromised, it's not as supportive as it was when it was built. So it's resilient in nature. Any loading on it will cause the movement of the slabs. These become small tires that are moving under loading. So it'll start progressively getting worse and worse the more traffic you put on it, especially heavier traffic like garbage trucks, school buses, and fire trucks. Fire trucks carry lots of loads. I mean, you got pumpers that
I happen to drive those down that road, and the narrowness of that road to begin with, whether it's one of our engines or a ladder, or a school bus or a refuge truck, it gets pretty narrow. Now I know we're not addressing that, but if folks do tend to pull over just a smidge more, they're falling off, trying to get out of the way of those apparatuses. I was just looking for an opinion of, for the $300,000, I was hoping to get 5 years out of it. And that was being I thought I was being optimistic, but if that's somewhat relative, the value to all these homes in here will be substantial for that kind of investment on the drive, because that drive is horrid And like I said, 16 to 24 times a day I'm on that road, and it's horrendous.
Unfortunately, like Bill mentioned, he's seen the 2-inch caps fail. I've seen him also do the same. I cannot guarantee a 5 or a 6 or even 4 years. Sure. It's a situation where we put it down and we hope for the best. And again, it depends all on the service activity on it, that whether it's going to last that long or not.
Well, Lenny, one other thing.
We'll have a.
Lenny, you know, it's going to be a better driving service than you have right now for a few years. That's for darn sure. But the other thing is
that'll be a huge smile factor for a couple of years.
Yeah. So tonight, Jim Budney came in and asked us to develop a plan. We will develop a plan. We'll go to the voters, being optimistic. If we want to be optimistic, if things do get approved, nothing's going to happen there for 3 years as we sit here right now.
Anyways.
But if we, that could be, certainly church would be a major part of what we're going to consider for going back to the voters and a total reconstruct. So if we can stretch it to 3 or 4 years, and hopefully within 5 years, if we get approval, we'll have Church Road rebuilt.
No, Ed, and I'm in full agreement on Church Road, on anything we can do to try to take and improve that road.
Okay, good. So we have a motion to recommend, or I'm not sure.
We don't have a motion.
I'm going to make a motion that we recommend that we don't have a precise cost estimate yet or a precise plan, that we ask our engineers to develop a simple plan based on quantities, not a detailed engineering drawing, but enough to go out for bid proposals, take bids on the stretch of road that's been identified, Church Road, to put at least a 2-inch cap on it, to mill off at least a 2-inch cap. And so I'd like to ask you, part of my motion would be to ask you for a have them bid a 2.5 and a 3-inch cap as well. And that way, the more integrity you get for every 1/2 inch of asphalt you can lay, it gives you a little extra strength. So 2-inch, 2.5, 3-inch, if you could bid alternatives for that, that's the motion that I'm laying out to you.
Sure.
Is there support? Lenny, you want to support that?
All day long, support.
Okay, so we have support. Is there any further comments?
Yeah, I got a comment. If you're looking at doing this, I think you ought to look at doing it in the fall of the year, because I think we're going to get a much lower rate when that bridge gets open. Because if they're going to have to come across the toll bridge, number one, with asphalt trucks, with a spreader and a roller and all that stuff, that price is going to be astronomical, and we ain't going to be able to afford it.
One of the things that we're looking at to try to mitigate some of that impact, we had heard from contractors on a lot of our projects, it's the removal of the material off the island, not as much bringing the material on. So one of the ideas was to include in the specifications the leaving of the milled material on the island. We have a couple of properties here. Ford Yacht Club was one that took a lot of our millings from previous projects. I think they're still interested in some. And just leave the stuff here and then truck it off eventually if it's not able to be used once the bridge reopens. So I think that was kind of the idea, to try to mitigate some of that concern.
Well, that was my idea, Derek.
It's a good idea.
Well, so your suggestion is we try to put it off till fall, but we don't know if the county bridge will be open in time to do it in the fall.
To do it, yeah. Well, and then you've also got school opening, and you're trying to take and have school buses pass during that construction scope.
And then you've got the asphalt company shutting down when it starts to get cold, September, October. That's another problem.
I'm worried about a school bus in a ditch.
One of the other problems we have, and Sohail can probably attest to this, all the contractors are swamped. Very, very busy. I think we'll be lucky to get bids on their terms as far as construction schedules and timing, because everybody's pretty booked up right now. So, you know, for us to dictate the fall, they might not even bid if that's the game plan, just because they're trying to finish up work and they don't want to clog up their end of the season project. So, but I think to address some of Les's concerns, that leaving the millings on the island thing, I think will help tremendously, because we've heard from contractors that, if we don't require them to take the material off the island, it'll save us a ton of money. So.
Well, and when we bid this, one possibility is the bids will be so high because of the bridge that we may defer this till next spring. Hate to say it, but that's a reality.
Yeah, we see where they come in at.
So we're going to take the bids and make a determination of how far it'll go. How's that? That's what we're doing.
I think we have to.
So it's a project in process. Any other comments? We have a motion to proceed.
Just before we do that, Mr. Chairman, question about the bidding process. Are we putting full specifications together or just request for quotations documents, simplified form?
So the request for quotations will still be a public bid, right? So we'll still satisfy the public bid component. Yeah, I think that would be by recommendation.
Okay.
So you'll have minimum parameters that they'll have to address and stuff. Just try to save some of that money and time up front. And hopefully, I don't know, so Hal, if you can have bids back to us in 30 days or not, I don't know.
It's pushing it, but we're going to try.
Well, and if you can't, we can always have a special meeting.
Okay.
We need to. Just consider this. So we have a motion on the floor. It's been seconded by Pusdesris. If there's no further comment, all in favor of proceeding with the taking of bids for Church Road, temporary resurfacing, indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
The opposition? Motion carried unanimously. Okay, so we're down to John Keim, I guess. Anything to report, John?
Yes, sir, Bill. Thanks. Good evening, everyone. I'd just like to mention that our spring flushing of fire hydrants is continuing. We're currently south of Church Road, and that program will continue until completion at the furthest southern end of the island. And our cleaning and televising of the sanitary sewer system by Safeway is continuing as well. They've been off for a couple of weeks for mechanical failure, but they're coming back on Monday, and they are currently working south of Manchester, working southbound. And then also we have dust control being applied this week. Wayne County was out Monday, Tuesday, and graded all the gravel roads. And the dust control will be applied beginning Wednesday morning, continue through Thursday, weather dependent. Again, please ask all the residents to not park on the roadway during that application. And if you happen to be home when they come through with the application, if you could water that product in, it would benefit everybody. And that's all I have for this evening, Bill.
All right, John, thank
John,
you.
I got a quick question. I got a quick question for you.
Yes, sir.
How are the hydrants flowing? So far, so good. Everything's got good flow so far?
Oh, yeah, everything's real good, Lenny. We actually replaced the one on
awesome.
Macy Court last Friday.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, thank you for that. Thank you.
Which one did you replace?
The one at the end of Macy Court.
Ah, okay.
When we tried to flush it, the stem broke, and being old, it came out, and we put a new one in last Friday.
So that means
Well, I
you
know
can't
how
blame the
that
guy
goes
for the
when you
one
get old,
for the
you
one in
might
front of the station.
All right, you got.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I couldn't hear you, Lenny.
I said, now we can't blame the guy for the one in front of the station. If another one broke
No.
that way.
Those things happen. Like Les said, when they get old, that stuff happens.
Yeah, that connector falls apart.
Okay, with that.
That's all I have, though.
Ryan Walsh, are you on the phone?
Les is on the phone.
No, it's
Hello,
Ryan.
everyone.
Oh, Ryan's on the phone. Okay.
This is Ryan. Yeah, I'm
Ryan.
here.
As
Hey,
I mentioned,
how's it going?
Ryan's got a ton of stuff going on at the wastewater plant. So Ryan, you got it under control. what? Can you give us a brief update?
Okay. Flows have been low this year. We haven't really had a lot of rain this spring, really. As already stated, sludge hauling starts Monday, and we expect it will go a lot smoother this year. Also, to answer Ohio earlier, the rag chute is working now. We were having an issue where it was leaking, but it's not anymore, and that's all operational. And we do have a lot happening over there at the plant, but we are organized over there. So that's all I got.
All right. Ryan, thank you for that. There is a lot,
You're welcome.
a lot of contractors. It's a busy place right now. So
It is.
anybody, again, I will say either Derek or I would be happy to take you on a tour over there to see some of this stuff. In fact, I know I'm going to bug a couple of you to go look at it, but over the next month or so before our next meeting. But anybody have any
Certainly.
questions for Ryan? All right. Well, thank you, Ryan. Appreciate your comments. So we'll move on.
No problem.
Did somebody have a comment? Nope. All right. So Derek, you've got the recycling issues.
Yeah, I'll try to go through this stuff kind of quick because I know it's been a late night already. I think when Bill and I had talked about putting the agenda together, one of the things we wanted to include on there was a discussion about the glass recycling program and just kind of update the commission on how things have been working out. Past couple of weeks, maybe the past month, we have had a little bit of an issue, and I don't know for those of you that maintain a Facebook presence, but or kind of watch over the Facebook posts and Grozeal now, we're dealing with a problem where as the glass container fills up, it takes about 24 to 48 hours to go and have it emptied. And we were having some problems initially with people kind of leaving their glass on the ground once it was full. So this most recent go around, we had put signs on the container basically saying it's full, it'll be emptied within the next 24 hours. Please don't leave your glass at the location. And people did it anyways. So, we're a busy department. We can't play a housekeeper for and clean up after the residents. We don't appreciate having to dispose of their glass for them. So we were a little bit upset that there was no reason why they couldn't have complied with the request. The signage was on every side of the container. There's no excuse for that. So I brought this concern to kind of our support within the community, Ms. Van Fossen, who had worked with us originally in getting this drop-off location established, and asked if she might be able to reach out to the public because she's very good with the written word and kind of ask the fellow recyclers to improve on their cleanliness as far as not leaving the material and honoring our request. So a post went out over the weekend regarding that. I guess from my standpoint, I would like to see how well that works. It might just be a re-education effort and a reemphasis of good housekeeping that is necessary. I'm optimistic that hopefully that'll solve some of the problems. But one of the suggestions that she had made, and I think Bill had made too, was potentially setting up a scheduled pickup on the calendar. Right now, what we do is we call for the pickup once the container is full. And the reason we do that is because it's $250 every time we have it picked up. So we want to maximize the dollars that we're spending for the pickup. With a scheduled service, we're not sure that it's full every time they come and pick it up. So, that was the concern, trying to save as much money as we could, by doing it on an as-needed basis. I think her comment and Bill's comment was potentially if we have a scheduled pickup, maybe we'll avoid, it being full and residents showing up and not being able to dispose of their material. So I don't know if you guys have anything you want to comment on, or if you just want to kind of let this roll and see how things turn out with this re-education effort. But I'll open it up to you to see if you have anything.
Derek?
Yes.
Derek, the downside of the scheduled pickup is you got somebody coming up, picking up an empty container.
Potentially, yeah.
And we're out to $250.
Yeah, we've been able to determine the frequency. I mean, on average, I think we're having it picked up every 3 weeks.
But every 3 weeks.
And that's what we put into the budget, was pick up every 3 weeks.
Right.
But it varies. I mean, depending upon the time of the year, depending upon how much people are drinking.
Graduation parties.
Right.
Graduation parties.
You know, you might go a month or a month and a week, or you might go 2.5 weeks. So it does vary some. In priorities have been really good about picking it up within a timely fashion. You know, if we let them know it's full today, they'll be in here tomorrow to pick it up. So it's really not a huge inconvenience as far as a length of time that it's unavailable to our residents. I think more than anything, it's just people not cleaning up after themselves.
Do we have a handle on how many of those the filled containers, how many of them are contaminated with other than glass being dumped in there?
We've only gotten feedback, I think, or comments maybe 2 or 3 times from the company that receives the glass.
The recycle plant, right? For
the most part, it's been good. It's
okay.
Been good. Yeah.
Well, yeah, on the glass, I think we just let it ride and see how it works out. That's my opinion. Phil?
Well, I'm just curious why we wait till it's full. How do we know it's full?
We keep an eye on it. The residents let us know. John watches it. Donna watches it. So we keep an eye on it.
Well, could we not schedule the pickup when it's almost full?
I guess.
In other words, rather than, I mean, kind of like with the tanks at the airport, the fuel tanks, we don't wait till they're empty before we order fuel. We try and lead it a bit. And I'm just wondering if that would be possible there.
Yeah, that's possible. That the thing is, like I said, it's about like a 24-hour. Like if it fills up today, they're here tomorrow to pick it up. So I mean, there is a potential if you're calling them before it fills up that it won't be 100% full when they pick it up. But you know, we could keep a little bit closer eye on it and try to get it when it's like 95% rather than 100%. That's an option.
I talked to the supervisor on the island, and this was a week or 2 ago, the priority supervisor, and he told me that the glass recycling was going very well. He had no complaints. He said there were no real complaints about the operation, that the quality was good and that people were abiding by what was being put in there.
Yeah.
Well, you know, everybody that recycles glass, they have to make an effort. They have to go save their glass and then take it over there. So they're really, truly recyclers.
Yep.
But I think the bigger problem we've had, and I live in Hawthorne, which is a congested area. When I look at what people put in the recycling bins, we need to, you know, recycling. Here's what I heard in Florida a month or 2 ago, that a hauler in Lee County, Florida said that 70+% of what's recycled is going to the landfill because it's contaminated. And I think that nationally proves out what we got to do is a better job of recycling. So in the packet was this recycling brochure that you at the very end of your packet that I think Derek had some input, but that priority waste put together. What I would favor is, I know we don't have money in the budget to mail it out, but I think we should. We don't have a line item, but I think we should mail this out to every household, mass mailing. My thought is because we're doing a lousy job of recycling, and I hate to think that with all this talk about recycling, that 70% of what we're recycling is going to the landfill because it's contaminated. And I know that I started recycling less products. I don't put any glass in, and I don't put pizza boxes in there. And I think we all know now that pizza boxes with the grease on them is not recyclable. And I recycle fewer items, but I look at other people, and they got that box filled up with all kinds of loose paper and plastic bags that.
And things aren't rinsed out either. That's the other big thing.
I didn't hear you, Phil.
Well, they don't rinse out the items that they put in there, so that eliminates it right off the bat.
I think my feeling is, if anybody's listening, if you recycle less but do it properly, you're better off. At any rate, I'd like to see this mailed out.
So this flyer also addresses some of the common problems that we've been having. So we're in pretty constant communication with Priority about things they're saying along their route, resident complaints that we get, and what the causes of those complaints are. So some of the information that's in here, matter of fact, is almost this first whole page is things that residents can do to try to help improve the level of service they're getting from Priority. So it also addresses those items as well as recycling. So I mean, we can touch base with Priority. When we had talked to them about this, it was more, they will try to get it out electronically because of the cost associated with mailing it. But I can talk to them about sharing in the cost of mailing this. I think they would probably be willing to split it with us or something like that if there's a desire to go that route.
Well, can you do it electronically?
Well, we would put it out on our website and Grow Zeal Now and our Facebook page. And
well, let's do that.
Okay.
I've got a suggestion. Why don't we contact somebody at the local newspaper, Pam Frucci or Mr. Stevenson or somebody, and suggest that, and I'd be glad to do this, accompany them down to the recycling center, have them communicate with Waste Management, and have them do an article in the paper on recycling. Just specifically that would get to more people. I think it would make more impact.
Idea. That'll work. If we
That's a great idea.
Do that, Phil. That's a great idea.
Well, I know Pam Frucci. I'll be more than happy to contact her, and she may be able to direct me the right place. And I think, to me, that would have a great impact.
I think you're right.
Bill's been a good partner with Stevenson.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, I think he did the original article when we switched to Priority about the route change and everything else. So I think he's more willing to participate in something like that.
Well, Phil, as vice chairman, if you would work on that with Derek, that would
be glad to.
Appreciate it.
Be glad to.
All right, problem solved.
Not solved necessarily.
Anyway, that is a very good thought. I like that. Any other comment on recycling? If not, we'll all do a good job, set examples for our neighbors on recycling. So thank you for your comment.
I have one quick comment on Priority.
Yeah.
When they came to us, when we started with them, they had, I think, 7,000 households that they were contracted with. They're now over 70,000, the company. So they've grown significantly since we contracted with them.
That's good. I think we were a major component in their growth.
Yeah, we were.
All of us in our 4,000 households or 3,900 households.
Yeah.
But I think it helped them. I really do.
It did.
I think you're doing a good job for us.
Yeah, their accessibility as far as us being able to reach the principals and their management has not reduced at all from day one. So that's been a real good thing. Even though they've grown, they haven't, we haven't seen any negative results as far as access to their management. So
right.
Okay, we're going to try to move this along. Chairman has no other report. We've talked about roads long enough tonight. And I don't have a report, so we'll go around the table. Dave, do you have anything to add?
No, sir, not tonight.
Phil?
I was just curious, were we going to discuss the Anderson Road issue at all?
I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to touch on that before the meeting ended. The commission had asked for a proposal or at least an engineer's estimate on doing something over there. So Ohio had included something in the packet regarding that cut. I guess from my standpoint, BPAC handles the majority of the pedestrian pathways on the island. Is this something that you would want to pass off to them to have them consider this, or?
That would be my approach.
I would agree.
I agree.
And maybe they don't
I
need,
agree.
maybe just open up some kind of a path, could be stone, it could be, I mean, I know that kids are gonna, we want to have a safer place for people to go. So well, let's refer it to BPAC. Why don't we refer it to BPAC?
Dave, can you talk to Carl about this then? Maybe pass it over to him?
I will.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Let's see. So Phil, you have anything else?
No, nothing else.
Laura, do you have anything to add?
I don't. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. John Reilly, anything to add?
Not at this time, Bill.
All right, Lenny.
I'm all set, sir.
Okay, now the best for last. Les?
Well, I've been getting a couple of phone calls here about priority. And I guess they called down to the township and they were referred to Donna Deppa, but Donna was off on vacation, so they called here. And they were complaining about, it seems like they're going too fast to try and pick up the garbage. And there's a lot of stuff being dropped on the ground, and they're not picking it up. Like this person told me over on Gray's Drive, there was bottles and paper and stuff being blown down the street. And I said, well, you call priority. We don't take those calls at our office anymore. We refer you to priority, and there is a foreman out here that will go after them and try and correct the problem. So I don't know what's happened. I haven't heard. Nobody's gotten back with me on that.
Les, I've experienced
what
I've experienced the same thing, and I've seen it. They're going too fast and they're being sloppy. I've talked to John Keim about it, and I've talked to Derek about it. And they have talked to the supervisor about it, so we'll keep it. You're right. It's the workers on the back of the packer, they're going crazy fast, and they're throwing the stuff, and it's good to go fast, but you can't leave stuff behind, debris on the road. So
I had a serious problem over here, and a lot of people in my subdivision had a problem. What they would do, they'd pick the containers up off the grass, dump it in the truck, whatever it was, as either trash or recyclables, and then they would drop the container in the road. And I had the foreman out here, and I said, look, I said, it's in front of the mailbox. The mailman is either going to have to get out of his truck or else he's going to drive right by the mailbox and say, forget it. So I guess he went after him, and he talked to him, and I told him, I said, well, the problem is you can't fix stupid.
And sometimes those problems that they have or that our residents are experiencing are the result of some issue that's occurring. So that's where that notice, that mailer that we had talked about and looked at earlier.
Yeah. The problem is the resident. It's the people on the truck that when they get done, they don't put it back where it came from.
No, yeah, I think you're exactly right. It's a combination of issues. So,
Well, one other thing that affects them on that is the toll bridge issue. They're in a hurry to get everything done and make their trips across the toll bridge, which slows them down significantly, and before the landfill closes.
Yeah, it's a 2-hour round trip from the Rosehill to the landfill, and they close at 4:30. So
right, and the bridge closure hinders them somewhat in their timing, and they have to make this up somewhere. That's no excuse, but that's part of the reason. But I totally agree with Les. I've had to call the supervisor a few times myself.
Well, we'll keep plugging away. Anything else, Les?
Nope, that's all I have, and everything seems to be pretty good.
Okay, thank you. Have I missed anybody? All right, if not, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I will make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 8:44.
Second, Pusdesris.
And move supported, we adjourn. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Meeting's adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Night all.
Thank you.
Good night.
Brian.